Okay, so here's part 2 of our note 6.3 on standard form. What we find here is let's make this quick statement about standard form. If the A value or the B value, and again the key term here is or one or the other, but never both can be 0. If that's true, what we end up with is a horizontal line or a vertical line. Okay, and the way to remember that is a little trick that says if you have a line that looks down here at example 3a. See how it says y equals? What we found is x is 0 in that case. There is no value of x. It's turned into 0. So we have just a y value. Y equals -3. And the way that I like to remember which one's which is if it says y equals, that means I must go through the y-axis at -3, which makes it a horizontal line. Because a vertical line would never go through the y-axis. Okay, and if you look at example B here, you'll notice that we have an x-coordinate, but no y-coordinate. That means that y has become 0 here. So if y is 0, and we get something that says x equals some constant, some number, right? And that's how these should all look. It should be an x or a y that equals a number. In this case, x equals, it has to go through the x-axis at 2. Okay, and that's how we're going to remember how to graph these. There's really not a lot to it. We just have to remember that little thing. If it says x equals, it goes through the x-axis, and if it says y equals, it goes through the y-axis. So let's graph two of these really quickly. Again, y equals -3, so that means it goes through the y-axis at -3. So 1, 2, 3, and that means to go through it, it has to be horizontal, because if it's vertical, it will not go through it. It'll be parallel. So there is the graph of y equals -3. And for the x equals 2, the B example here, means that we're going to go 2 to the right because it has to go through the x-axis at 2, which means that it's got to be a vertical line. Again, commonly confused between the two. Most people remember that they mean horizontal and vertical line, but they'll forget which one is which. So try to remember that little thing, that it goes through, and I'll mark it down here. Remember this little tip here. It goes through the y-axis if x is equal to, and it has to go through the x-axis if it's y equals. So that'll help you kind of decide that there. All right, one last little tidbit, and then we should be able to move on. And that is how to change forms. We hinted at this in the last round a little bit, but we'll do some more of it here. Let me get my right pen. So there we go. All right, so to go ahead and change from slope-intercept form, you can see that we've got that here, right? Y equals mx plus b, so we're in slope-intercept form because y is solved for, right? There's y by itself isolated, that's slope-intercept form. To get into standard form, if we choose to do that, because maybe we did want to graph by the intercepts, or maybe it asked us a question about the intercepts, what we'd want to do is first clear or remove the fractions. Again, we've been saying it so far this year as clear the fractions or decimals. We went over that in the last quiz today. Or remove them. So that's our first step. And then from that, we're going to, again, kind of solve for our constant, whatever that result is, and get kind of x and y on the same side. We prefer them on the left side, so if you put them to the right, just move them over because of the commutative property. All right, so let's do this. Looking at this here, to clear out that fraction, I need to multiply by a number that will make this 4 go away. Well, that's pretty easy. I'm going to multiply by 4. So, and again, I have to multiply that to each term on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides here. So I'm going to get 4y equals, these 4's are going to reduce to 1. That's going to leave just a 3 and an x. And then I'm going to multiply 4 by 2, which is going to give me 8. Now I've got rid of the fractions. Now I can do the second step, which is to move the x and y on the same side. I've got y over here by itself, so I'm going to take this 3 and move it to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and do its inverse operation, which is subtract 3. I'm going to do it to both sides. We prefer to have the x coordinate go first before the y, so I'm going to write -3x plus 4y and have that equal to 8. So now we've changed from slope-intercept form, where we could see the slope, the rate of change, right? 3 over 4, up 3, right 4. And we could see the y-intercept, to now a standard form. And again, maybe you see the usefulness, but maybe they asked us for the intercepts. And this way you can find the x-intercept a little bit easier. So we would, didn't ask us to do that, but if we did, we could. Okay, I'm going to skip over the word problem down here at the bottom because we've done a few of those. There's your homework there, page 301, 1 through 33 odds, and 38 through 54. So second set of notes, flip them, so now you can come to class and do your homework. All right.